Nitzovim, Maimot Seis Asis B'Hashem, Daf Mem Zayin Amud Daled Siv Gimel. This is the fourth shir. But first of all, we have to understand how will the Torah mitzvahs bringing the revelation of Erin Seiv Baruch Hu from the love Seiv Kolamim, which over there high and low, equally the same. It completely surrounds everything, and everything completely is nothing compared to it. And bring from that level of Seiv Kolamim to the level of Mal Kolamim. How is that possible that the Torah mitzvahs have that power to do it, to bring from Seiv Kolamim to Mal Kolamim? And that will be understood first. So the concept as we see that the simcha, happiness in a person, causes in a person another shiflus. For example, the king in time of his happiness is being revealed to all of his servants, and he puts himself like one of them, is lowering himself to everybody else because of happiness. Like we see by David HaMelech, that he was singing and dancing, and as his wife said, you were singing and dancing like the simple people. However, not when it's not a time of happiness, is close in this place, and is elevated, and is much higher and lofty from everybody else. And nobody's compared to him, and nobody's is not to be seen. So the same thing, the anova and the shiflus comes because of simcha. And it says in the pasuk, Tach hasashalavat esavai lekecha b'simcha v'tulavav mirav keil. In other words, why is all of the things opposite of brachas chas v'shom will come? Because you didn't serve Hashem with happiness and tremendous happiness as if it was more than keil. What does it mean, keil? In other words, even more than Chaylam Abba. In other words, you should have a simcha. When you serve the Eibush, you should have a simcha much greater than simcha than if you have all Tanugi Elam Abba. Now, what's Tanugi Elam Abba? It says if a person lived all of his life without any pain whatsoever, only betev, benimim, and good and sweet and pleasant all of his life, that's for 70, 80 years, that's not even worth one moment in Gan Eden and Tachten. How much more so, Gan Eden Elyon, and many different levels. And now it's a tremendous pleasure. How can we come and say the reason why all of these punishments will come, because a person did not serve the Eibishter with a tremendous happiness, even more than the enjoyment of Gan Eden, the Tachten, and Gan Eden Elyon. It seems to be a very high level to reach. This has to be a tremendous simcha. But the explanation of it, simcha, happiness, is a revelation of the pleasure. In other words, when it comes in a revealed way, the pleasure becomes in a revealed way, then the simcha comes in an open way. And the more there is pleasure, the more the person is happy about it. And it's known that all the physical world, all the pleasure of the physical world, they're coming because they have a mazel from above that gives them strength. In other words, there's godly ruchnius kerch that gives them a life, that gives them existence. And that spiritual existence, that specific spiritual pleasure, and you cannot come and compare the physical pleasure that a person has to the spiritual level, which is the source of that physical pleasure. And the same thing, each level is created from a higher and higher level. And you cannot compare the level of the pleasure of the lower world to the higher world, which is much greater. And this is all regarding the physical world, that they're getting from the leftovers and from the out and waste of the Malachim. As it says, as explained, V'nesher b'gai mul beis peil, that we had to sit in the concept of a nivus in order to overcome the concept of a person falling into Tanugim of opposite Kedusha. Because the Tanug in Kedusha is much greater than Tanug in physical world. And it's a comparison of if a person eating food, and the best part becomes blood and becomes as part of a person, and the garbage goes out as a waste. So the waste, you can't compare it to the part that becomes blood. The same thing, each level, as it goes lower, it's so to say waste compared to the higher level. And in spiritual sense also, you have a higher and higher level in a Tainug Ruchni, and you go higher and higher. In other words, there's Tainug Gdusha, which is higher, and Gan Eden Tachten, and then Gan Eden is higher, and Eden is even higher than Gan Eden, that is Einig Elyon, and Nachal Adonecha Tashken, and Eden is a level of Chochmah, and over there you have the concept of Tainug. But the essence of Tainug is much greater, that as we see by a person, that the Chochmah comes out, there's pleasure, but the source of the Chochmah is much greater than that. But the Chochmah itself does not have an open pleasure. It's only the fact that it came out. We'll continue with Hashem tomorrow.